Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the first, or actually the second, in the Josef Krips edition boxes. This is the second box. This video is coming first because I'm still working on the first box. The first box contains his earliest recordings, historical recordings, some of which haven't been released in a long time. The second box, this one, contains goodies that are somewhat better known, so I was able to get through it a little more quickly. Some really well-known and terrific things in here, by the way, and oh, what a joy. So let's go through it, shall we? Volume 2 contains 21 CDs, and for the most part, they're pretty well known. Well, let's talk about Krips a little bit first, shall we? Krips was, he had actually an interesting career. He studied with Weingartner and Eusebius Mendelssohn, the great musical scholar who did editions of like everybody, and he was working on Haydn, and he did Schubert and Bach and whatnot, and Handel, I think, and like all kinds of people. So he had quite the pedigree. He was forced out of Germany when the Nazis came to power because his father was Jewish. He was actually raised Roman Catholic, and he wound up ultimately. He bounced around for a bit. After the war, he worked back in Vienna, then took over the London Symphony for 4 years, 1950 to 54, when the orchestra was in pretty bad shape, actually. And then he moved to Buffalo, where he had the Buffalo Philharmonic, the good old Buffalo Philharmonic, until about 1963, and then the San Francisco Symphony for the next almost decade, 7 or 8 years, I think, before he passed away. He was only 72 from lung cancer. And so he had a full career. His recordings are pretty well known. I mean, he did a lot of very good work as a concerto accompaniment. You know, he was the accompanist. He was the accompanist for Arthur Rubinstein's, best Beethoven piano concerto cycle on RCA, and he also did the Brahms second with Rubinstein. And you'll see in this box, he was around for a lot of that accompanying business. He was not one of the great conductors of the 20th century. His repertoire focused mostly around the German standards, although he did do a lot of contemporary music in San Francisco. But basically, he did the German standards like everybody else from Germany. He was one of those well-trained musical Kapellmeister type guys. And, sometimes he was wonderful and sometimes he was just ordinary. He also made a Beethoven cycle for the Everest label with the London Symphony, which has never been regarded as one of the best Beethoven cycles out there, although it's had its aficionados over the years. And so he's well represented on disc, although we need to get a decent remastering of the Beethoven cycle so we can reevaluate it and decide it's still not one of the best out there. I mean, that'll be the result, but what the hell. Anyway, so we've got these 21 CDs on original jackets, which look just lovely, I might add. These are quite pretty. Really, really nice. So we begin with Schumann 1 and 4. Lively, attractive performances, very musical. The guy was good. He really was. And some of these things are just amazing. But the really famous recordings we all know, and we'll get to them shortly. Here's one of them, disc number 2, the Schubert Great C Major. An absolutely fabulous performance with the London Symphony Orchestra. I mean, this is one of those performances. He was Viennese. Everything just went right. I mean, it's just gorgeous. And he has the LSO playing fabulously. I'll never forget, tiny little detail. The third theme in the exposition with the trombones. Bum, ba, da, 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 do, do, do. The accompaniment to that. The orchestra's going cha-cha, cha-cha, cha-cha. He has the pizzicatos and the violins. It's so beautifully done. I never forgot that. I mean, it's just one of those moments. And so there are quite a few of that performance. It's super. And it's also coupled with the Weber-Oberon Overture, which, not bad. Then CD 3, let's see, it says Vienna. I guess he was in Vienna. Oh, London, CD 1 and 2. CD 3 is Vienna. Don Giovanni. One of the great Don Giovanni recordings. Of course, it's largely due to the cast. I mean, the conducting's excellent as well. This is one of the classic Don Giovanni's, along with the the Carlos Kleiber Marriage of Figaro. I mean, Carlos, the other one, Eric Kleiber, Marriage of Figaro. Those are the ones. It was the cast. Oh, wow. Let's see. Who's the cast? Fernando Corena is Leporello. Donna Anna is Suzanne Donko. I love Suzanne Donko. Cesare Siepi is the Don. Kurt Boima, the Commendatore. Anton Dermata, Don Octavio. Lisa Della Casa, Donna Elvira. Zerlina is Hilda Gooden. And Masetto is Walter Berry. With a Vienna Phil. I mean, yeah. That was really a famous recording. It still is. It's one of the reference recordings for the work. CD6, he's back in Vienna. The closing scene of Salome with Inga Borg. Oh, this is an Inga Borg thing. Beethoven's A Perfido and Oberon's Ozean, du Ungeheuer. Ocean, you mighty monster, sort of is how that translates. So that's fun stuff. It's only a 36-minute CD. Then he does a couple Haydn symphonies. Nobody did Haydn like Bernstein did Haydn. It's Haydn. It's okay. Schubert 8, unfinished with the Vienna Phil. Beautiful. Absolutely lovely. With a particularly flowing second movement. And you get the exposition repeat the first movement, which is pretty cool. Then Gottfried von Einem's Symphony No. 1, Philadelphia, conducted by Zubin Mehta with the Vienna Phil, reminding us that we really need a Zubin Mehta, not LA box. We need a real Zubin Mehta Vienna and other things box. We really do. And Israel. That would be great. Brahms, Symphony No. 1. Okay. I mean, it's a Kulshaw production. It's a very idiomatic Brahms 1. Some Strauss waltzes, which he does waltzy-like. They're lovely and charming. Let's see, Hilda Gooden sings in one of these suckers. We've also got, the Tchaikovsky Fifth. Yeah, the good old Tchaikovsky Fifth. Boy, I hadn't heard this in years. I remember listening to this again. It's okay. It's not one of the Tchaikovsky Fifths anybody is writing home about. Das Lied von der Erde. This was like a biggie. This was discovered later. It's with Fritz Wunderlich and Fischer Dieskau. And it was originally, let me see, this is a live recording from 1964. It's not the best Das Lied von der Erde, but, Fritz Wunderlich is in there. Of course, he was in there for the Klemperer. So that's where he really sounds best. But that's nice to have in Vienna and everything. Good for them. Then we come to the biggie, Amsterdam. Yes, Amsterdam. Here we have the thing that most people remember Krips for, aside from the Don Giovanni, and that's his Mozart symphonies. Beginning with symphonies, 21, I think. Was that the earliest he did? Yeah, I think it starts with 21 through 41. The late Mozart symphonies with the Concertgebouw. These are classic performances. They are gorgeous. The orchestra is fabulous. He conducts them absolutely effortlessly. They were like the big competition to the Bohm Berlin Mozart cycle, back when big band Mozart was still politically acceptable. It still should be, frankly. And when Philips re-released these, they were for Philips originally. They made a box set where the earlier symphonies, a complete Mozart symphony cycle, where the earlier ones were the Mariner Academy of St. Martin in the Fields recordings, and Krips had all the later ones. And everyone went out and grabbed it for the Krips performances because they are just deliciously, fabulously wonderful. And we all were very happy. And then, of course, it went out of print almost instantaneously. And that was the end of that. Ridiculous. You also get a rehearsal, a big rehearsal for Symphony No. 33. I mean, it's like, 26 minutes of rehearsal. So that's fun. And they are, like I said, just wonderful. Then we have his recordings with the Israel Philharmonic, of which he did quite a few. And we get Mozart 41 and 35. Well, not quite a few, just two. But let's face it, the Concertgebouw ones are the ones to get. They were from 1957. So they predated most of his major Mozart with the Concertgebouw, which was from the late 60s and early 70s, I think. Let me see. It's 72. Maybe it was all the 70s. Anyway, totally wonderful for that reason. So, where does that leave us, friends? If you don't have the Don Giovanni and you can't get it separately, then it's in here. That's good to know. The Schubert 9 is amazing. The Mozart stuff is amazing, and all the other stuff's really good. And there isn't much all the other stuff. I mean, it's standard stuff, but charming and lovely and idiomatic and nice to listen to. So this is a really good box. In other words, a really, really good box. It shows Krips largely at his best. And when he was at his best, he was as best as anybody's best, frankly, especially that Schubert Ninth. Oh my God, is that a great Schubert Ninth? Absolutely one of the reference recordings for Schubert Ninth, and it's the least known of all of them. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me, and enjoy your Krips. Volume 2. Volume 1 is coming anon. Take care.